President Biden announcing his pick for the Supreme Court, nominating Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Federal Appeals Court Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
She is Judge Ketanji Jackson, rather.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Ketanji Brown.
Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
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 Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
He selected Judge Brown Jackson.
Ketanji Brown Johnson.
Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Taz, Taz-tastic Tuesday edition. And if you missed the Taz-tastic Tuesday audio podcast, you can either click on the link in the bio or just check the video right before this. It is up and it does deal with this right here. It is amazing that people can give a unique spelling to their children's names. Come up with a name, as Elon Musk did with his child, and people have no problem. They can pronounce it whatsoever. But professional broadcasters didn't take the time to figure out how to properly pronounce the Honorable Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's name. But it doesn't stop there. I know many have been watching the confirmation hearings. Many have not been able to. Some may choose not to. But here are two snippets, and then we'll come on back.
Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that.
There have been some back and forth as Democratic senators have tried to address your sentencing patterns as it concerns child pornography. And I'll confess, Judge Jackson, as I listen to your testimony, I believe you are someone who is compassionate. I believe you care for children, obviously your children and other children. But I also see a record of activism and advocacy as it concerns sexual predators that stems back decades and that is concerning. You wrote your note on the Harvard Law Review on sex crimes. Your note is your major academic work on the Law Review, and yours is entitled Prevention versus Punishment Towards a Principled Distinction in the Restraint of Released Sex Offenders.
Now, in both of these clips, Ted Cruz took items knowingly and consciously out of context and kept attempting to put Judge Jackson in a light that he knew she didn't belong in. He was more so campaigning to his constituents than doing his due diligence on this committee. Every gotcha moment he thought that he had, and yes, he did that. Hold his hand up and cut her off. So did Lindsey Graham. So did other members of the GOP. But let's break this down in two sections. One, let's discuss the GOP's obsession with critical race theory and using it as a scare tactic. They're saying the quiet parts out loud, but they're also showing us our fellow citizens, our neighbors, our co-workers, the people that are in the grocery store with us, that we may see at the gas station, et cetera, who they are and where they stand and how they view the rest of us. because he took half of a sentence here, half of a sentence there, and willingly took things out of context and asked her about things that have nothing to do with her being a jurist and her sitting upon the Supreme Court. Now let's go to the flip side, where he talks about a note that she wrote for the Harvard Law Review. Keep in mind, the sex registry and all of that was new while she was still at Harvard. And according to Cruz, they graduated a year apart from each other, both at Harvard. She was talking and examining which laws at the time were punitive, which laws were preventative, if the individual laws were constitutional at the time. And if you know anything about sex offender laws and the registries, they have evolved and changed over the years. She was not giving a personal standpoint. This was a full-on jurist review. She was looking at the information presented to her and writing according to what was presented to her. No more, no less. And the saddest part is that Cruz knows this, but he's still going to pander to the racist, hypocritical, male-dominated base that he has. But that's not where it stops. Because you know what they say, black women are always under attack. Coming in from The Guardian, Stacey Abrams files lawsuit after being blocked from fundraising for Georgia governor campaign. Stacey Abrams has filed a lawsuit seeking to immediately begin fundraising for her campaign for governor under a state law that prevents her gubernatorial leadership committee from doing so. Abrams is requesting to take advantage of a new kind of fundraising committee created by Georgia lawmakers last year, which her opponent, the Republican governor Brian Kemp, has already been able to make use of. Called a leadership committee, it allows certain people and groups to accept unlimited contributions, giving to direct candidate committees, on the other hand, is limited to $7,600 apiece for the primary and general elections and $4,500 for any runoff election. Under the law, the committees can be formed by the governor and lieutenant governor opposing mayor party nominations and both party caucuses in the state house and senate. The committees can coordinate with candidate campaigns, unlike most other political action committees. Although Georgia has not officially approved Abrams as the Democratic Party nominee, Abrams argues that because no one filed to run against her in the May 24th Democratic primary, and because write-in votes are not allowed, she became the nominee when qualifying closed. And by they, I mean the GOP. The GOP has been working triple time, nights, weekends, holidays, just not taking breaks, lunches, no nothing, in order to stifle Stacey Abrams. They have so much fear and contention for this woman. They are consistently throwing dirt on her name. They are consistently throwing up roadblocks. They are doing everything in their power to play as dirty a politics as possible. They have reached into the bowels of the white supremacy handbook and are like, what can we do to keep her down? What law can we enact to keep her from taking this position and moving through the ranks of government? They don't want change, and they definitively do not want the change to come via the hands of a black woman, especially not a black woman that's willing to bootlick within the GOP. They do not want that. They do not want that at all. And they're getting a 1-2 punch. They have Stacey Abrams, who has been amazing for years. You have Judge Jackson, that's really looking as if, with all the letters of recommendation and the testimonies and the glowing reviews, that she is going to become the first black woman SCOTUS. Excuse my error. You have grassroots movements surrounding Black people getting stronger by the day. And you have, bits and pieces of their base, that next generation of their base, due to social media, due to new books coming out, due to, being able to easily read it on Kindle and not have to travel all the way to the library. People stepping away from these racial tropes and ideals of old. But we're still not out of the woodwork. Still not that far gone. Because coming in from NBC News, hate crime charge for teen recorded whipping classmate. A 15-year-old freshman at a high school in Houma, excuse me if I mispronounce it, Louisiana, was accused of throwing cotton balls at a Black student and whipping him with his belt. A white high schooler has been charged with a hate crime after being caught on video throwing cotton balls at a Black student and whipping him with his belt, authorities said Wednesday. The 15-year-old freshman at Vanderbilt Catholic High School in Houma, once again, sorry if I mispronounce it, Louisiana, was arrested Tuesday on battery and hate crime charges after authorities reviewed a recording showing what happened inside the cafeteria on March 9th. The video shows the white student walking up behind a Black student sitting in a crowded lunchroom. He throws a handful of cotton balls at him and then whips him repeatedly with a belt until the Black student stands and pushes him, news outlets reported. I am very pleased that the school took a front stand on this. Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Tim Soignette, once again, my apologies for any mispronunciations, said in a news release, when we received the complaint, we immediately put our detectives on it. They worked through the weekend so we could get to this point. My officers did a good job handling it and working with the school to get this case to where it is now. To the politicians, the parents, the non-birthers, the empty nesters that are screaming that CRT should not be taught in schools because it would make white children feel bad. How do you think Black and brown children feel when things like this happen to them? Just last week, we discussed a whole school auction that was going on and why certain children were chosen to be the slave masters. You don't want to teach true history because you want to keep that racist legacy going. It is the only thing that is keeping the systems of long ago still working in your favor. But white women, come to the front of the class. These systems were never meant to work for you. They were meant to work for straight, cisgendered, Protestant, specifically Protestant white men. Baby girl, they still haven't put you in the Constitution. They still haven't put you in the Constitution. But let's roll on to this next clip. For y'all to think that the United States is the greatest country ever, it's looking a little ghetto.
What the fuck?
They're calling them prisoners of war. So they're admitting it was an insurrection. Because if they're prisoners of war, that means that they were attempting a coup d'etat. Not to mention, they can never say that they support veterans again because they just disrespected every POW and every MIA veteran ever. So that being the case, to quote Captain Norrington from Pirates of the Caribbean, they need a short drop and a sudden stop.
Oh, how they keep moving the goalposts, and oh, how they keep changing the narrative. It's amazing how many times the narrative can change over and over and over and over again. But we know that's the crux of white supremacy. Because before they claimed that it was Black Lives Matter and Antifa setting them up. Then they said that it was actors and socialists and Antifa. Then they said it was just a peaceful protest, and our eyes were deceiving us as we all got a chance to watch it happen in real time. But no matter how many of the good old boys were arrested, held in jail, or allowed out on probation to go vacation and do whatever, or actually given jail time, which was essentially a slap on the wrist. They keep saying that. But now they're considering their brethren that are being held accountable for an attempted coup on the United States government, prisoners of war. But it gets better. According to NBC News, official guilty of illegally entering Capitol grounds January 6th. I'm assuming it's Cowie. Once again, my apologies if I mispronounce this. Griffin, a 48-year-old New Mexico County commissioner and former rodeo rider who helped found a group called Cowboys for Trump, is scheduled to be sentenced in June. A federal judge on Tuesday convicted an elected official from New Mexico of illegally entering restricted U.S. Capitol grounds, but acquitted him of engaging in disorderly conduct during the riot that disrupted Congress from certifying Joe Biden's presidential election victory. I didn't see anybody peacefully going to the Capitol that day outside of those that were supposed to be there, but let's carry on. U.S. District Court Judge Trevor McFadden heard one day of testimony without a jury on Monday before handing down a verdict in the misdemeanor case against Otero County Commissioner Coy Griffin, a 48-year-old former rodeo rider who helped found a group called Cowboys for Trump. Griffin's trial in Washington, D.C. was the second among the hundreds of federal cases arising from the January 6, 2021 siege. Earlier this month, in the first trial, a jury convicted a Texas man, Guy Wesley Reffitt, of storming the Capitol with a holstered handgun, interfering with police, and obstructing Congress's joint session to certify the Electoral College vote. Woo, good grief. Sorry, you guys. The outcome of Griffin's trial could have a ripple effect, helping other Capitol riot defendants decide whether to let a judge or a jury decide their case. But the case against Griffin is unlike most January 6 cases and may not be a bellwether for defendants who were charged with storming the Capitol. Griffin is one of the few riot defenders who wasn't accused of entering the Capitol building or engaging in any violent or destructive behavior. His lawyers argued that he was selectively prosecuted for his political views. Miss me with it. Griffin was charged with 2 misdemeanors: entering and remaining in restricted buildings or grounds, and disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, both carrying maximum sentences of 1 year imprisonment. Griffin is scheduled to be sentenced on June 17th. This screams of Kyle Rittenhouse. Just get buddy with the judge. You'll be fine. You know, that's all good. That's all good. In other political, I can't believe that happened news. Oops. Okay. From CBSNews.com, accused leader of plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer texted, "When's the lynching?" A man described as the leader of a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer asked when's the lynching after the state Supreme Court in 2020 struck down a law that she repeatedly used to impose restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to evidence introduced Monday. The disclosure came near the end of the first phase of testimony by a key government witness in the trial of 4 men. Dan Chappell, an Army veteran, was an FBI informant who secretly recorded hours of conversations, participated in chat groups, and trained to abduct Whitmer, along with Adam Fox, Barry Croft Jr., Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta. Prosecutors say the 4 were anti-government extremists who wanted to grab the Democratic governor at her vacation home in northern Michigan in retaliation for a series of sweeping orders during the pandemic. These are over voting age adults with responsibilities and dependents that because there was a governor that took her oath of office seriously and gives a crap about the citizens of her state, wanted to protect people during a deadly global pandemic, and they wanted to kidnap and lynch her. Let that sink in. Caring about your fellow man leads to more than just death threats. They trained. They had plans. And it kicked off with, when's the lynching? It just goes to show, racist white people love strange fruit. That seems to be the predominant fruit of their diet. It really, really does. It seems to be the predominant fruit of their diet. But these are the same people who claim they don't want big government, they want small government, but they want government to govern over what can be taught in schools, what women can do with their bodies, what parents can do with their children. And I'm not even talking safety-wise. But won't keep children safe in schools. Won't keep its citizens safe on the street. Hell, won't even try to keep its citizens alive. Can send millions and billions of dollars over to a war in Ukraine. But forget about Syria, forget about Haiti. Forget about the war on marginalized communities going on domestically. Let's forget about all the people who became homeless or in incredible, crippling debt because of this pandemic. We don't have any money for any of that. We have astronomical daycare and healthcare costs. We don't have any money for that. Just checking. Let's roll this next clip.
I understand that someone who has committed a rape would not be able to sue if an abortion were to take place. Would a family member of said rapist be able to sue? Would they have standing?
Down for 21.
Thank you. If it is the parents, siblings, aunts and uncles, grandparents, then yes.
Same question then for incest as well?
Down 21.
Thank you. Yes.
So if I am raped and choose to have an abortion and my rapist has 10 siblings, is there anything to preclude all of them and their spouses from bringing a lawsuit for $20,000 each?
Down for 21.
I'm not sure their spouses are included in that list, but no.
Yeah, you heard that right. If you're molested, raped, assaulted in any way, you become impregnated for obvious reasons. You choose not to carry that, to have a baby. The family of your attacker can sue you for punitive damages. Not hold their family member accountable. Not feel shame or embarrassment, but profit off of your trauma. Because you chose not to incubate and birth a child that none of them will help you take care of. None of them will be around. And if you think I'm joking, all over the internet are children who their mothers were forced to give birth to because of rape, assault, molestation. The mothers resented them. The families didn't want them. They would pass them around, verbally and a lot of times physically abuse them, or dump them off in foster care, or try to adopt them out after a period of time. This isn't about saving life. This isn't about preserving life. And especially in the case of incest, we know all the medical issues that could come from that as well. So you want this child to have the trauma of knowing what they are the product of on top of medical conditions, plausible medical conditions. And they suffer, but not their father, their sperm donor that committed the atrocity. All men and some women. All men and some women. And coming from Variety.com, Kanye West barred from performing at the Grammys due to concerning online behavior, Rep confirms. Kanye West has been barred from performing at the Grammy Awards due to his concerning online behavior, a rep for the artist confirms to Variety. Reps for the Recording Academy and CBS, which presents the Grammys, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. West rep cited a report in The Blast posted late Friday claiming that the artist team received a phone call Friday night informing him he had been unfortunately removed from the lineup of performers for the show due to his concerning online behavior. While West, who is up for 5 2022 Grammy Awards, was not among the first list of performers announced on Tuesday, he may have been a planned performer. A rep for West sent Variety a link to that story saying only this is confirmed. The rep did not respond to requests for further information, although the Blast report states, our sources say Kanye's team isn't surprised by the decision. They shouldn't. His behavior is disturbing, unnerving, and if he wasn't a celebrity, if he was not wealthy, this would not be condoned. People are making light of it and causing jokes, but for less publicly disturbing behavior, men, women, and non-binary individuals have lost their lives, have been maimed, have been permanently disabled, have been stalked and mentally abused to the point where years of therapy may help them slightly. He does not need to be a poster child for the Grammys. You can see him as a musical genius or not, but sit down and talk to a survivor of domestic abuse. Sit down and talk to someone, excuse me, who survived being stalked and harassed. What he's doing is not okay. Let's get into this month's commercial. I'll see you in 2 and 2. Alrighty. Coming from a Russian newspaper, and I am not, well, Russian news source, and I am not going to try to pronounce this because I know I'm going to mess it up, but everything else is translated into English. It says, Russia's elite wants to eliminate Putin. They have already chosen a successor. A group of influential people who oppose Vladimir Putin and who plan to assassinate him is forming among the Russian business and political elite, according to the chief directive of intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. The goal of the group is to remove Putin from power as soon as possible and restore economic ties with the West destroyed by the war of Ukraine. A part of Russia's political elite sees Federal Security Service Director Alexander Bortnikov as Putin's successor. It is Bortnikov who has recently fallen out of favor with the Russian dictator. The official reason for the FSS leader's downfall is fatal miscalculations in the war against Ukraine. It was Bortnikov and his department who were responsible for analyzing the views of the Ukrainian population and the capacity of Ukrainian army. It is known that Bortnikov and some other influential members of the Russian elite are considering various options for removing Putin from power. In particular, poisoning, sudden illness, or other accident is not excluded. What? I'm not. Y'all can't vote nothing in real quick just to get him out? I know he made himself president for life, but that is okay. You know what? Not my house. Not my house. Let me not tell people how to clean their house. Let me not tell people how to clean their house. Let me not. Let me not. And coming from CBS News, a white couple has been charged with a hate crime in the alleged murder of a black man at a California gas station. Prosecutors in California say a man and a woman accused of shooting and stabbing to death a black Navy veteran excuse me, at a gas station on March 15th committed a hate crime. You think? Police say Justin Peoples, 30, was shot once and stabbed multiple times at a Chevron gas station in Tracy, California, shortly after 9 p.m. Christine Gardner, 42, and Jeremy Jones, 49, y'all way too, were arrested and charged with murder and the next morning. Images released by the San Joaquin County Prosecutor's Office show what appear to be white supremacist tattoos on Jones's body. Garner's Facebook page indicates she and Jones are in a relationship. A third person, Christopher Domingo, 58, was charged with accessory to murder for allegedly helping Garner and Jones avoid or escape arrest. A complaint filed on March 18th accuses Garner of shooting Peoples and Jones of stabbing him. Investigators have not said what prompted the altercation, but in the complaint against Garner and Jones, prosecutors allege Peoples was intentionally killed because of Peoples' race, color, religion, nationality, or country of origin. Peoples' father, Morris, told CBS San Francisco that his son was a father of two who served his country. I don't think you all realize how many times veterans of color fight for this country, put their lives on the line, to come back and receive utter disrespect, become untreated with undiagnosed trauma, or lose their lives simply for existing. Because on Veterans Day, if you're white or you look white, I bet nobody questions, especially if you're a man. Nobody questions if you're a veteran. They don't even ask for any proof, any paperwork. But pay attention. Pay attention this Veterans Day. Pay attention. And with that, let's go to this next clip.
President, what do we want to do with him? What?
It's inappropriate to indoctrinate children with understanding, with decent humanity, with respect and understanding of their fellow man. But it is okay to teach children that the current president is wrong, and those were babies, and tell them that he needs to be out of office. For what? For what reason? And don't sit there and go, sometimes you're a leftist, you're a Biden supporter, no. I have issues with all politicians virtually equally, okay? I look at politicians just like I look at my children. They all get on my nerves equally. So, yeah, but I'm going to let this play one more time because I want this to sink into y'all, okay?
President, what do we want to do with him? What?
Small children, we want him out. Why? Because he doesn't want you to grow up and just see straight white men everywhere? Because I'm pretty sure when those little girls in that class grow up, regardless of how they identify, they're not going to want to be treated like second-class citizens. They would like to have a livable wage. And, if they're doing the hard work, I'm pretty sure, just like myself, they want to be paid for it. I don't know. Call me crazy. But, we can't have CRT in the classroom because, learning the truth, bad. Learning lies, good. What? I guess that's still some more of that good old KKK propaganda. Let's go into this next clip.
I'm still trying to figure out why these racist people sent their daughter to my kid's party.
Oh!
Happy birthday, Missouri. Gorillas rock. Gorillas rock. Gorillas rock. Gorillas rock. Gorillas rock.
Like for real though, Gorillas rock. That wasn't even her birthday theme. What's sad is these same people invited my daughter to their house for a sleepover. You think I sent her? Hell no. Who even drew this? Was it the kid, the mom, the dad, or a sibling? It's people like this that keeps racism alive in this day and age.
When we say our children cannot spend the night, this is why. When we say we have to have certain conversations with our children, this is why. Once again, this takes me back to CRT. Are you all beginning to understand why evangelical Christians within the GOP do not want critical race theory taught, aka actual true history? They do not want critical thinking within their children. They don't want a history book to open up and their kids recognize them, Meemaw, Papaw, great grandpappy, nothing. Because an adult thought that it was okay to encourage their child to do something like that to someone. Keep in mind, this is someone that their child considers a friend. This is how they're looking at a friend. Imagine if she wasn't a friend. Imagine if she was a stranger. Imagine if that little girl became jealous of her. Because I don't know if you all are familiar or not, but there was a viral video, I believe a little over a year ago, where there was a nurse, a hospice nurse, talking about a woman's confession right before she died. That she confessed that she had a man lynched, beaten, burned and his family home burned down and his family ran out of town, all because she was jealous of the dresses that his sisters were wearing. Now, this was firmly during Jim Crow. And where this woman was from, there was a huge gap in income between the black side of town and the white side of town. So that means that black mother was sitting down at the sewing machine, as we have done for generations, to make sure her daughters looked nice so that they could feel nice, so they could have a little confidence about themselves. And this white girl got so riddled with jealousy, she claimed that that poor black boy touched her. And the whole town decided to, get their Grand Theft Auto murderous Hannibal Lecter bones off. Because let's not pretend like white supremacists do not use any and every opportunity to live out their wildest, maniacal, violent fantasies ever. Because during the Red Summer, the Oklahoma race riot was started because a white corrupt individual who ran the crime scene of the city had white men go out in blackface and rape white women. These white women knew that they were white men in blackface. They didn't care. They used it as an excuse to steal, kill, and destroy. Yeah, definitively. So when we say our kids can't come, don't get on the internet crying. Don't call us. Don't try to reach out to the school, because the school can't tell us what to do with our damn kids. And don't beg and plead. Too many of our children are coming up missing. Too many of our women are coming up missing. Too many of us are dying at these sleepovers and get-togethers and campsites and hiking sites and no. Get out was metaphorically speaking, but they do kill us off. And they may not wear our skin literally, but they do wear our skin as if they are cosplaying us. And that's not what we're about to do. Now, this next clip was sent to me by a member of the indigenous community. And by indigenous, I mean indigenous to the United States. I am going to let this play twice, back to back, because it's extremely important. And I want to give you all the opportunity to really listen and take down this information. So please stay focused. Share this information with people as much as you can, because we can't let this happen. I'll see you after this.
So the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is just down the road from the Roadway Inn in Rapid City, South Dakota, both on La Crosse Street in Rapid City, South Dakota. And they're both racist as hell. Stay away from them. Don't go there. The Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City, South Dakota, put out a statement saying this, and I quote, "We will no longer allow any Native American on property or in Cheers sports bar." That sounds an awful lot like no blacks, whites only, doesn't it? No Indians, whites only, doesn't it? That's the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City. So the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is just down the road from the Roadway Inn in Rapid City, South Dakota, both on La Crosse Street in Rapid City, South Dakota. And they're both racist as hell. Stay away from them. Don't go there. The Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City, South Dakota, put out a statement saying this, and I quote, "We will no longer allow any Native American on property, or in Cheers sports bar." That sounds an awful lot like no blacks, whites only, doesn't it? No Indians, whites only, doesn't it? That's the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is just down the road from the Roadway Inn in Rapid City, South Dakota, both on La Crosse Street in Rapid City, South Dakota. And they're both racist as hell. Stay away from them. Don't go there.
So
That sounds an awful lot like no blacks, whites only, doesn't it? No Indians, whites only, doesn't it? That's the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City.
For those saying, well, this is a private business, they can do whatever, whatever. Now, I do realize that in territories outside of the South, historically, to get around federal laws regarding discrimination, they would privatize clubs. And once they privatized clubs, it was easier to discriminate against people. But let me tell you how detrimental this is, because they're saying they're not going to allow indigenous people in, but I bet you they'll let them work there. And I say this because there are countries where the people indigenous to there aren't allowed to go to the big resorts, aren't allowed to go to the big casinos and the big tourist hotspots that, you know, on your day off, you want to chill and pretend to be a tourist and go spend your coin, but they will let them work there. And a lot of times those are fairly good paying jobs in that area, or maybe the highest paying job that you can walk to, that you don't even have to have a car or any mode of transportation to get to. This may be one of the few jobs in the area that comes with benefits. So that means they're relying on money coming from outside of their area and not giving a damn about the people in their area. Before we go on to the next three clips, coming out of Reuters, Texas court reinstates injunction blocking probes of transgender kids' parents. A Texan appeals court on Monday reinstated a temporary injunction prohibiting the state from investigating parents who provide their transgender children certain medical care that Governor Greg Abbott has branded child abuse. It is amazing how people think being a supportive, understanding parent that does research and does the best thing for their child's mental and physical health is abuse. But actual abuse in a whole nother state, they're saying is okay, and folks can sue you if you report said abuse. Lord, this country is ghetto. But let's go on. The Texas Third Court of Appeals ruling came in a lawsuit the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and the Lambda Legal filed on behalf of a 16-year-old transgender girl, her parents, and her licensed therapist, challenging a directive issued by Abbott last month. You go, girl. The latest decision affirmed the rulings of a lower court judge who first blocked any further investigation of the family and their psychologist, then issued a broader injunction on March 11th, barring enforcement of Abbott's directive statewide while the case remained under judicial review. The judge, Amy Clark Meacham, ruled that plaintiffs in the case faced deprivation of their constitutional rights, the potential loss of necessary medical care, and the stigma attached to being the subject of an unfounded child abuse investigation. Meacham also held that Abbott, a Republican, had exceeded his authority in his February 22nd directive, which was based on non-binding legal opinion issued earlier by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, also a Republican. Okay, I have a genuine question, and no, I'm not being facetious. Hear me out. Why are adults so concerned about what's underneath another person's clothing and what another person is feeling internally, but claiming members of the LGBTQIA plus community are over-sexualizing and trying to indoctrinate children? Because, correct me if I'm wrong. I could have missed this in some research. Maybe I did. I've never seen an LGBTQIA plus conversion camp. I've never seen churches of LGBTQIA plus community members going door to door asking if you heard the good news and telling you that your life is a sin and just wrong and goes against nature. I have never seen an LGBTQIA plus politician, community leader try to invoke laws to suppress heterosexual, cisgendered individuals. But if I'm wrong, please direct me to where I can find this information. Because as always, if I'm wrong, I will correct myself. But I've never seen it. Oh yes, this judge. Woo! We do have some good judges out there. There are some people who, but oh my goodness. Yep. Okay. I know this is a lot in one show, but this is the United States of America. All right. We got 3 more clips to go through. Buckle up, buttercups.
You need to know what's going on in Mason, Tennessee. Mason, Tennessee is a predominantly black town in West Tennessee. About 60% of the population is black. Almost all of its town leaders are black. This changed in 2016. Up until 2016, almost all the town leaders were white, but town leaders who had been there for many, many years all stepped down, almost all of them stepped down under charges of fraud and corruption. So black civic leaders stepped up and took the positions of mayor and vice mayor and alderman and such. Just recently, the 1,337 property owners in Mason, Tennessee got a letter from the state comptroller, Jason Mumford. He was encouraging these property owners to vote to release their charter. What this would do, this would basically take away all the power of local leadership and put this town under the control of predominantly white, predominantly Republican Tipton County. Now here's where it gets interesting. Mason, Tennessee is 5 miles away from the site of Ford Motor Company's new blue oval city that's going in. This is a multi-billion-dollar project designed to help Ford pivot to electric vehicles. They're expecting it will generate 27,000 new jobs and $22 million a year annually in state revenue. In other words, money's coming to Tipton County. And by the way, the most direct route from Blue Oval City to Memphis is right through Little Mason, Tennessee. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of the local politics there. It may be that the comptroller has some kind of valid reasoning for this letter. But the problem is the white folks in this story are kind of like the little boy who cried wolf. There's been no reason given to trust you. This feels like another takeover. This feels like colonization. If there wasn't a whole lot of money to be made, would the white leaders of Tipton County and the state of Tennessee care at all about what's happening in Mason? Virginia Rivers, the vice mayor of Mason, Tennessee, said this is akin to a hostile takeover. That's also the title of the story on this that was reported in the Tennessee Lookout. I really encourage you to Google this and read up on this. This is still developing, and you might want to pay attention. This is yet another of a long line of attempts in red states to turn local and state leadership into a more authoritarian form of government. All politics is local, and the politics in Mason, Tennessee needs to stay local.
Okay, I know you all probably get tired of me going, historically speaking, but it calls for it. Historically speaking, anytime a predominantly black community or marginalized community starts to flourish, especially financially, there's always an attempt to take over, or they just go to massacre and burning things down and stealing property, land, ideas, patents, intellectual property. Some of y'all might want to come out the bag on me for this. But if you know, you know. Saying, sounds very Kardashian to me. Very Kardashian. Let's buckle up and get through these last 2. Here we go.
Saying white people experience privilege is not saying that white people don't experience hardship, even severe hardship in their lives. It's not saying that white people aren't disadvantaged in a multiplicity of different ways. It simply says that all other things being equal, whiteness tends to confer unearned advantages on white folks in systemic ways. White privilege refers to advantages enjoyed by people who are white or pass as white simply by virtue of being a member of the dominant group in society. White people are the majority in the United States, and even as the general population becomes more diverse, the major institutions of our country, politics, business, the media, and entertainment, are controlled by white people. And even as that reality begins to change, the culture of these institutions was created by and for the benefit of white people.
Yes. So please stop the, you're being racist against white people. I'm not privileged because I grew up poor, so I know what it means to be black. You know, every nothing in this country grows up poor. There are wealthy black people, wealthy Indian people, and I'm talking about from India, wealthy Asian people, wealthy Latinx people. There are also wealthy white people. There are also middle class people of all of this. There are also poor people of all this, lower middle class people of all of this, homeless people from all demographics. Stop saying that. Stop saying you understand the black experience because you were poor. Stop saying you are not privileged. And some of the biggest reasons are, well, my mom was a drug addict. My dad left it. Because you're quick to also come out with the trope and the joke. Oh, did your dad come back with the milk? Did your daddy come back with the milk? Because last time I checked, your Mima raised you. Because white folks, y'all do that a lot. And y'all do it in unconventional ways. Case in point, the famed actor, Jack Nicholson. Y'all know him. He was a fully grown man when he found out that his sister was actually his mother. She gave birth to him at 18, 19 years old. Still doesn't know who his father is. But his mother was like, you can't do this. I'll raise him as my own. So who he thought was his mother was his grandmother, who he thought was just his way older sister. Why do you think some of y'all in y'all families, there's such huge age gaps between the siblings? And y'all forgot that your mother had a full hysterectomy 4 years before you were born. And how many of y'all are being raised by aunts and uncles, wondering why you look like identical to your cousins? And some of y'all have some amazing stepfathers that are men of color that never made you feel as if you were a stepchild, never referred to you as a stepchild. Catch what I'm putting down? Because there have been studies, and the studies show the most involved are black fathers. But y'all ain't ready to hear that. Let's go on to this final video, and then we'll call it a night.
You will be tased. Get out.
He said he pulled me over for a traffic
Get
stop and he's
out.
going to tase me. You can't do that, officer, because I called for your
Get
supervisor.
out.
I have my
Get
license.
out.
What is the reason I'm
refusing
getting
to
out?
give your information. I told you
I
to get out
didn't
of the car.
refuse. I asked.
Now you're resisting.
I haven't
Get out.
refused. I asked to speak to your supervisor.
Get out.
Sir, I feel
Get out.
uncomfortable. Please get your supervisor.
I don't give a shit
Please
what
don't
you feel
touch
like.
me.
I said get out.
Please stop it. Why are you being like this? This is how y'all really are? Please stop. This is all on tape. Please stop.
Get out of the car.
Please don't hurt me. Why are
Get
you doing
out.
this? No, sir.
I'm telling you to get out.
I'm telling you that this is not lawful. Oh my God,
Get
that's
out.
not lawful,
Get
sir.
out.
That's not lawful.
Get out. You will be tased. Get out.
He said he pulled.
Just, that is a food delivery person. I've said on different platforms, whether you order directly from the restaurant, whether you do Postmates, Meal Me, Uber Eats, DoorDash, I don't care. If you live in a difficult place, put in some key markers to help these people out to deliver to you. Be on the lookout for them coming up, because you don't know what's on a cop's mind and how they're going to view that person. And you don't know what that person is going to look like as they're just trying to make a living. They're just trying to survive. And I don't care if you watch this live or you come back and watch it, miss me with the, what happened before this? I need context. I need because I'll use myself as an example. If somebody accused my black self of a crime, you wouldn't be asking for context. You wouldn't be asking for evidence. You would look at me and just go, oh yeah, she must have did it. If she didn't, she has to prove it to me. Stop doing that when you see things like that. That was clear and cut racism and police brutality. Because if you can look at me and somebody can tell you, I've been on this live now for an hour, 3 minutes and 47 seconds. If somebody can call you tomorrow and say, at 9:45 last night, Taz was robbing a bank, and you go, what? I knew that about her? Shucks. Miss me with the you need context when you see a video like the one I just played. Miss me. You don't need context. You need to outgrow your racism, your biases, and your utter ignorance. It takes some work, but it's possible. Thank you for joining me tonight. I will see you all tomorrow for Get Into It with Taz and Chris. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Y'all be safe out here.